Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out to join in the session tonight. I do appreciate it. Yeah, the session is recorded. I will share it. And for anyone who is listening to the recording, a very, very warm welcome to you guys as well. So what we're going to be doing tonight is we are going to just be starting to look at task 2. So task 2 of your POE, we've got a few sessions in which we are going to unpack it as well. So for now, we are just doing a starting point in order to get task 2 completed, okay? So task 2 is due beginning of October. So we've got literally a month. If I remember correctly, it is the 5th of October, which gives us exactly 1 month to complete task 2. Task 2 is a continuation for task 1. Remember that I have finished marking the task 1s. I have submitted the results. I'm not sure if they have been released yet. I know that they take a few days to be verified. So the results are finished. I finished marking all the part 1s. There's quite a lot of feedback on your part 1s. Please make sure you get the feedback as well. Quickly just show me, have you guys have those marks been released to you or not yet? Because then I can also go and query it as well. Or do you know what you have got for task or task 1? Okay, so not yet. So I'm just going to make a note just to check. I'm sure they will be released then tomorrow, or sometimes it takes a few days to just verify and check that what I've put on VC Learn is what is reflecting on the portal as well. But just in general, just some feedback from part 1. Most of the students did really, really well. So there were a lot of 18 out of 20s, a lot of 19 out of 20s, a couple of 20 out of 20s. Very, very few students got below 15 out of 20. So I obviously don't know all the marks off by heart, but in general, very good task 1s that I received. So thank you so much for all the hard work, the effort, the creativity that went into those tasks as well. You will see there's some feedback on the assignment with regards to your business idea, with regards to how you could develop a little bit further. So go and read that feedback, and obviously you will see you won't need to apply it into task 2, but you'll see when we get to the final POE stage, you will use that feedback for this. But for task 2, it's kind of a standalone assignment that you would have. So task 2 is due on the 5th of October, so we've got a month to sort of prepare for it. So I'm just going to give you a brief introduction today of what is expected for task 2. Then we have another session scheduled, I think, in a week or so's time, and then we will have more questions, answers, unpack it in a little bit more detail. So as a starting point, you are going to look at task 2. Remember, you find it in the normal POE document. So you would have found it in the same place. It's part of the POE as well. And now we're going to take your business idea. So you've already created a business idea. And now we're going to say whether this idea is actually going to be feasible or not. So this part of the POE we refer to as whether this business idea can translate into a good opportunity or not. So can we take this business idea and can it actually make us money? So that's the task that we are going to be faced with for this particular assignment, okay? So we've got 4 questions that we are going to answer for a total of 30 marks, in which we are going to try and unpack whether this idea is actually going to be successful or not, okay? So the first question, so remember, just to keep in mind, you are speaking about your original idea. So if you told me you are making an educational center for teachers, that's the idea that you're going to continue to pull through for the POE as well. So you use the same idea, okay? So it's a continuation of task 1. The topic that you chose in task 1 needs to be continued. So just to remind you that you're not going to change it unless I've specified that you need to change your ideas, but there was no one in this class that needed to change. So everybody has got the green light to go ahead and use their ideas in task 1 that they would have going forward, task 2 and task 3 and the POE. So the first part of the question is for us to understand whether this product or idea is actually going to be successful. So we've got 2 different characteristics here. We've got characteristics of a successful product, and we've got characteristics of a successful service. So the first thing that you need to do is to understand whether you're offering your business idea as a product or a service, okay? And again, we had a lot of products and we had a lot of services in the ideas that came through. So you need to then identify, does your product or your service meet requirements to make it successful, okay? So if we had to go into our textbook on page 83 and 85, you will see they list a whole lot of characteristics which will tell us whether a product is likely to be successful or not, and the same for a service. So what you are to do is you are going to take the characteristics for your product or service, okay, and you are going to analyze them to say whether or not your product fulfills that factor. So let's say, for example, the very first characteristics that a product or service needs to fulfill is, it says that any product or any service needs to fulfill a need. So what you're going to do in your answer is you're going to write down the characteristic, and then you're going to say, yes, my product fulfills a need. Yes, my service fulfills a need. Okay, and you're going to do that for each one of the characteristics. Why do we want to do this? Because at the end of the day, we want to see that you have ticked all the boxes of characteristics so that you can wholeheartedly say, yes, pardon me, that, oh, excuse me, you want to say at the end of the thank you, you want to say at the end of your answer, yes, this product or this service ticks all the boxes, therefore it is most likely to be successful. Remember, the goal for this question is to understand, is this product, what are the chances of this product being successful or not, okay? And how are we going to tell? We are going to tell by listing the characteristics and saying for each one of the characteristics whether our product or service ticks that box. So does it fulfill a need? Is it fulfilling a gap in the market? Is it easy to use? Does it give us an income? So we don't want to sell products that are not going to generate an income for us. So we have to tick that box, okay? Is it something that I can repurchase? Is it something that I can use on a continuous basis? Is it compatible with beliefs, with values? So you are going to list all the characteristics, and then you're going to say for each characteristics, yes or no, and a brief description. So you don't have to explain each one of the characteristics. You need to apply the characteristic. So I would just mention the characteristic. So you can literally just write the characteristics and then write the explanation in relation to your product or your service. Okay. So it seems like a lot of writing. So let's just unpack it in more detail once again. Step 1, list the characteristics. So you're going to list the characteristics. Step 2, for each of those characteristics, say whether your product or services meets that characteristics. And then in conclusion, just write one sentence at the bottom of your paragraphs, which will say, in conclusion, it is evident that my idea will be a successful product or service. Or in conclusion, it is evident that my product or service does not meet the characteristics of a successful product, so I may need to change my idea. So for 5 marks, a lot of thinking, but just do it systematically and it will be fine for that question. Please, guys, at any point, if you've got a question, type it up, raise your hand. We can discuss it. I know some of you haven't looked at part 2 yet, so that's why I'm just giving you a brief overview of what is expected in part 2. So you'll see here at the bottom of the corner, let's just quickly change the color so that you can see that I'm speaking about a different question now. So when we look at question 2, an easy question, ladies and gentlemen, for 2 marks, what are you going to do? You're going to choose the type of business ownership that you think would be best suited for your business, okay? So what type of ownership do you think would be best suited, okay? So again, think about your business, think about the type of business that you are setting up. Think about whether you are going to be the only owner, the sole entrepreneur for this business. Are you going to go into partnership with someone else? Are you going to create a non-profit organization? Are you going to go into partnership with another organization and have a joint venture together? Are you going to list your company on the JSE? So are you going to make a public company? Are you going to create a private company? Do you have enough capital to create a private company? So basically what you need to do for this answer is have an understanding of what the main types of business ownerships are, and then explain that type of ownership in relation to your business. So a typical answer would be something like, my business idea would form part of a sole trader. A sole trader is when there is only one owner of the business. That owner will take all the liability upon themselves, but this is best suited to my business because I am going to put in the money and I'm going to be entitled to get all the profits at the end of the day. And that's your answer for 2 marks. Or my business idea would be best suited to a partnership. My idea needs a lot of capital contribution, so this would be better when I can have between 2 and 20 people all contributing a financial contribution as well as skills or knowledge. Okay. Or my company would be best suited as a non-profit organization. I need to find sponsorships in the forms of government or private people to sponsor my business as I'm giving back to the community. Okay, so many different types of ownerships, as long as you are explaining the type of ownerships briefly, and then again applying it to your business. So what would be best for what would be best in your situation for your business. Okay, so question 2, 2 marks, straightforward, don't overcomplicate it. If your gut tells you follow a joint venture, or sometimes I find with this question students really think, oh, am I this, am I that? It's almost as if there's no right or wrong answer here, because it's what you think is going to be best suited for your business. So I have lost some students who sometimes stress over this question because they're like, okay, am I going to do a company or am I going to do this? Go with what your gut tells you, okay? And as long as you can justify it, again, then you will get your marks for that as well. Okay. Halfway through, ladies and gentlemen. Question 3, straightforward, nothing fancy with this question as well. What are we looking at? Question 3 here, you can see here. Describe at least 5 resources that you will need for your business, okay? So if we just had to think at the top of our head, I have put a page number there where they list the resources. What are some of the resources, okay? And it's important, it's a description, okay? So please just don't list finances, money, people, computers, whatever. Don't just list them. Say you will need money, okay? So for what, describe what money you would get, or how would you need that money for it, okay? So let's say you are saying that you need financial resources, okay? So you need financial resources. So in your description, you would say, my organization would need financial resources. This would be in the form of cash or shares, or life savings that I've now put in, or I'm going to take a loan from the bank. Okay, so that's, I've described what type of resource I need. Okay, or I'll say my organization that I'm starting would need human resources. This would be skilled people as well as unskilled people, or we would just need skilled people with certain skills that they would need. Or my organization is focusing on high advanced technological processes. Therefore, we would need a lot of technological resources in terms of artificial intelligence, computers, and special development apps, if that's what the organization requires. Okay, so again, you don't have to give an essay for each one of the 5 resources, but to get your full mark, you need to describe it. So don't just list it, just describe, give me a brief description of what those human resources, technology, finances, operating resources, physical resources are that you would need for that question. Okay, so for 5 marks. So that up until now gives us a total of 12 marks, 5 marks, 2 marks, 5 marks. Then the final question, which is the big question, our 18 marker here, so more than half of our part 2 comes from question 4, 18 marks. But again, ladies and gentlemen, it is quite straightforward. So question 4 is just asking us to do a macro analysis. So they're looking at, remember, macro meaning external. So what you are required to do is to do a macro analysis of your specific business where you find yourself in, okay? So what is a macro analysis? Remember, our acronym that we always use for macro external is PESTLE. So you can see here, it's on top here that we would have PESTLE analysis. So you are literally going to take each one of the factors from the PESTLE analysis and you are going to relate them back to your organization, okay? So let's have a look at some of those factors in more detail. Again, I've given you some page numbers there that you can start with, but a macro analysis is very widely researched. There's a lot of information out there. If you have included the international environment, that's also fine. So if your acronym is PESTI and not PESTLE, that is okay, all right? As long as you obviously have got your 6 factors, each factor is worth 3 marks. Okay, so let's unpack that in a little bit more detail. So we've got our PESTLE analysis here, okay? And you can see here are some of the elements that you will include. So remember, you are doing 6 of them. So you have got 6, and obviously 6 multiplied by the 3 marks. Okay. So you've got 6 factors for the total of the 18. So let's take, for example, here, just the first one that comes out, technology. Step 1, tell me what is the technological factor. So what type of factors form part of our technological environment? What type of factors will we have to analyze within the technological environment and then apply it to your business? Okay, so let's say, for example, your business is creating a new app, okay? So you would say, first of all, the theory. So remember, our theory comes first. So explain what is the technological environment. So then you would say the technological environment is X, Y, and Z. My organization would need to analyze the technological environment because technology is increasing at a rapid rate. This is where how many apps are being developed daily, and we will need to respond to those competitors or those other people that are developing apps as well. Okay, so it's very important to see again, ladies and gents, that we are looking at, remember, we are looking at theory, so explaining first, and then you are looking at the application. So let's do another example. For example, let's look here at the top, let's say economic environment, okay? So first of all, what you would have to look at is to define what is the economic environment. Okay, so you would say the economic environment is the current state that we find our country in. These are all the factors that we have got no control over, but they affect us in a monetary value of it. Some examples would be the inflation rate. This would affect my business if I'm taking a loan because I'm ending up paying more money. Or you would say economic factor is the exchange rate. My business model is focused around exporting and importing. So when the exchange rate fluctuates, then it has an impact on my business. Or you could say something like when the fuel prices increase, it affects my business because my distribution costs have now increased, which means my product needs to increase. Okay, so I've taken the economic factors and I've applied them. First of all, you will remember I explained, so always the theory first and then the application. So first explain the theory for 1 mark and then use the factors in application to what you are going to do. Yes, and definitely you will always reference when you have given the theory. So remember, if you are using your textbook, you can use Van Art and Bezuidenhout. You'll see a lot of the chapters are written by individual people as well. But if you just acknowledge the textbook as itself, which is Van Art Bezuidenhout, then that is acceptable. Okay, so you don't have to go. You'll see each one of the chapters is usually written by a different editor of the textbook, but you can just say Van Art and Bezuidenhout. Most of our work from these learning units still fall under Isa Van Art, so they still are her work. I think only later on in the chapter do those editors change. But yes, please guys, reference correctly. Make sure you are referencing, make sure you're acknowledging any source that that you've used or that you've sourced in it. So referencing is very, very important. So that wraps up question 4, 18 marks. How do we break it up? Remember, 6 factors times 3. So you will see, ladies and gentlemen, that there are more than 6 factors, but if you stick to your PESTL or PESTI acronym, you only have to focus on those 6, and then obviously give 1 definition and 2 sort of facts for application to get your full 3 marks per 6 applications, 6 factors. Okay. I think the next slide, if I'm not mistaken, just tells us to reference again. So remember to continue to be creative, continue to work on those ideas. Remember to be an entrepreneur. I know I really enjoyed reading those reflections of you, the entrepreneurial reflections, because I could see a lot of creativity coming in. I could see a lot of people who were trying to really, be creative and innovative, and a lot of very innovative thoughts coming through there as well. So continue with that, continue thinking out the box, use it in your next task as well. Remember to reference. Remember, it's going to go through SaferSign as well. Remember editing, so as per normal, submitting it on VC Learn before 9 o'clock on the 5th of October. Okay, guys, so that should be a good starting point for you all to get cracking with part 2. Remember, I will make a follow-up for part 1 result as well. But like I say, most of the students did really, really well. So I just wanted to say thank you, really. I know that you guys work and have got families and other commitments as well, but I could see that there was a lot of effort and thought that went into those part 1s, and it really does get me excited to see those final POE plans coming together. So well done, guys. Keep it up. And our next session, which hopefully you will have then had started on part 2, and you will have a little bit more of an idea of where you are battling or where you are struggling or where you need extra help. So our next collab session is in 2 weeks' time. So we have it on the 20th of September. So we will unpack it there. If you've got any questions, please let me know. I can unpack it in more detail on that date, but we can also set up another session in between. And as always, you're welcome to email me if you've got questions that you are really stuck on, or you're not sure, like I say, what franchise you are looking on, what type of business or forms of ownership, guys, please do email me if you need me for anything. Otherwise, keep working hard, ladies and gentlemen. Keep at it. The end is almost in sight. Not quite, but we're getting there. That's all from my side, everyone. I'll stay online if there are any other questions. If not, you're welcome to log off, and we will chat again soon. Bye. It started at 7:30, Colleen. It started at 7:30. No problem. I did record everything. If you missed the beginning, I will post this on our YouTube link and on VC Learn as well. Oh, Shane, remember the links are all under more resources. They're also on all the announcements. We use the same link for all our sessions. So it is under more resources, but it's also, you will find them. There's also a page, like a pretty picture with where you can go and link. It's also under more resources. And if you look at the announcement, there's also there are also some there. Sorry, I usually go and put it on the announcement. I must go and check. Maybe I didn't on the latest one, but I'll go and check. But it's the same link for everything.